Yeah, okay, guys, we'll start now. Let's go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead. So now, we started our discussion with the different states of an object in Hibernate. That is called in JPA. Right? Let's go ahead. We started with our concept called JPA entity states. Or we can call it as Hibernate entity states. It doesn't matter whether it is JPA or Hibernate. So JPA entity states. Okay. Right. Let's go ahead. I'll explain you. In the last session, just we discussed our discussion like this now. First one is called a transient state. Actually, I'll show you today. Transient state is a one. The second category, that is persistent state. Okay, and the third category, that is called a detached state. These are the different states we have for an object, right? One is a transient state, second one is persistent state, and last one is a detached state. I said yesterday, when you create a new object, it is in transient state. Okay, and when you persist that object to the database, it becomes persistent state. I mean, the object enters into persistent state. Basically, as per the diagram, what you got is, initially when you create a new object, and that object has nowhere association is available with the entity manager. Correct? You have an object and you have entity manager, because entity manager is responsible for performing the operations on database. Like a session object, how we got in Hibernate. In JPA, it is called what? Entity manager. What I'm saying now, if for an example, you have created one new object, correct? You have created one new object, but you are not yet stored or inserted that object in the database. I told that object will be in which state then? Transient state. But once you persist the object in the database, it becomes persistent state. Okay. So persistent state in the sense, object has got an association with the entity manager, because you are calling entity manager dot persist. You are calling one method like that, which means what? You got a association between the entity manager and that object. So when there is an association is established between entity manager and the object, that object will be in persistent state. Correct? Or the next one is detached state. What I told in the last, for example, you have an object, it is in persistent state now. Okay. Then next, what happened? You are closing that entity manager object. When you close entity manager object, or when you clear that entity manager cache, then what will happen? The object will be moved out of the entity manager scope. Means what? It is a disconnected with entity manager. So when an object is not connected with entity manager, it is in transient state. When it is connected with entity manager, it is in persistent state. When it is a disconnected from entity manager, then it is in detached state. So 3 words here, right? Not connected, connected, disconnected. Not connected means in which state? Transient state. Connected means in which state? Persistent state. And disconnected means in which state? Detached state. Got the point, right? 3 things. Let's today have a kind of a diagram like how we can. And one more. Suppose a disconnected. Detached state means what? Object is disconnected with entity manager. We can reconnect. What we can do? We can reconnect this entity with entity manager. If you reconnected, again it moves to persistent state. Okay, you are getting my point or not? See, if it is a disconnected, we can reconnect. If it is not connected, we can connect. Am I right or not? But we cannot reconnect. Means what to understand? If an entity is in a detached state, correct? We can again move that entity into persistent state, but we cannot move it again to transient state. Getting my point? Detached state means what? An entity is disconnected from entity manager. What we can do? We can reconnect that entity with entity manager so that it will again enter into, it will go back to persistent state, but it can't go back to the transient state, because transient state meaning is what? It's not disconnected, it is not connected. If it is not connected with entity manager, we can connect it, but we cannot reconnect it. Means what? An object can be moved from what state to what state? Detached state to the persistent state, but what? We cannot move it back to the transient state. So that's what point. We'll see in the form of a diagram what methods will help us. For reconnecting, we need to call merge method. What method? Merge. I'll write a diagram. In the diagram, I'll explain all the methods which are available. You are getting my point? Right. Apart from these 3, we can also write one special state called removed. Whenever you call remove method, in JPA we have a remove method. Already we used in our CRUD application. Remove method is there. Whenever you call remove method, it is going to be removed. It is not the meaning of disconnected or reconnected, it is removed. So removed is not a particular state. Apart from the 3 states, we can say that one more state is also, that is called removed. Okay, object can be removed. From where it can be removed? From persistent state, it can be removed. Whenever I call entity manager dot remove, what will happen? That entity will be removed. It's not the meaning of disconnected, it is removed. Disconnecting different, removing different. Remove means what? Permanently deleted. Okay, detached state means what? It is not removed from the database, it is disconnected, so we can reconnect it. So for the special state we can also define is removed. In the diagram we'll discuss that. Okay, so finally an object can be moved back from where to where? Yeah, an object can be moved back from detached state to the persistent state, right? But we cannot move an object from persistent state back to the transient state. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to tell you, right? Observe here. Let me have. So I will explain a diagram. Okay, observe here. I will explain a diagram. Observe here. So let us say that this is a transient state. Yeah, guys. For an instance, we can assume that it is a transient state. Let me tell you, this is called transient state of an object. This is a transient state, I can call it. Okay, guys, it is a transient state. Transient or transient state, any word I can use. Okay, otherwise, a transient is enough. It's a state, one state. Transient is one state. And even I also want to take up the one more state as persistent. And I even just want to take up one more state, okay? And that state I would like to take it as detached. Now, initially I gave 3 boxes here. Let us identify the different states now. This I am calling as persistent state. And the last one I am calling it as something called as a detached state. Okay, I guess. So these are the 3 states now. First, let us understand them. Then later we'll go with the other additional things also will come here. I'll explain. First thing is, I want to move an entity from where to where? From transient state to the persistent state. I want to move it from transient state to the persistent state. I want to move like this. An object from here to here. Transient state to which state now? I want to move an entity from this to there. From here to there, I want to move. You got it, right? Next, what I'm saying now, an entity can also be moved from persistent state to the detached state. I just want to give, okay? I'll tell you the methods next, but first understand. Again, what I'm saying now, an object can also be moved from detached state to the persistent state. But I am not writing the next arrow. I am not writing this arrow. Why? I am not writing this arrow because an object cannot be moved from persistent state to the transient state. Can we move it now? No, right? We can't move it now. I want to delete this. Okay. First, let us see which method can help me out to move an entity from transient state to the persistent state. I will explain. Which method can help me out? Persist method can help me out because we call persist method only now. Whenever you want to save an entity to the database in JPA, what's the method we call? Persist method. We don't have save method here. We don't have save, but what we have? Persist. We have a method called persist. Yeah, we do that. Observe here. So the method name is, I wanted the method name. The method name is what here? Persist. Please understand me. The method name is persist. So you are getting my point, right? What's the method I'm calling? Persist method I'm calling. Next, I want to move an entity from where to where? Persistent state to the detached state. Yes. If I want to move an entity from persistent state to the detached state. Yeah, guys. If I want to move it from this to there, then let me tell you what are the methods are available here. The one method available is detach. Okay, one method is what? Detach method is there. Like evict method is there now. Evict method is in Hibernate, but in JPA, detach. There is another method that is called clear. Obviously, next method is close. So what methods will help me out to move an entity from here to there? Detach method, clear method, and what? Close method. Now I want to move an entity from where to where? Detached state back to the persistent state. Are you clear? If I want to move an entity from here to there, from detached to persistent, then I have to call the methods. The method, just what I told you, is merge. Guys, understand me? Which method can help me out here? Merge method can help me out. Merge. Okay. Next, listen clearly. Try to understand me. Okay, I have a question. I mean, for an example, when object is new, if an object is new, it's a new object. Then tell me new object is in which state? Transient state. By calling persist method, it can go to what? Persistent state. By calling detach, clear, close methods, it can go to what? Detached state. Again, by calling merge method, it can come back to what? Persistent state, correct? So first I want to take that this is object. Guys, you please understand me. What I'm saying is not this is the object. Listen here, this is object. Try to understand now. This is a new object. So I'm calling it as a new object. That's what I'm calling it as a new object. That's it. Not more than that. It's a new object. So please understand me. It's a new object. Okay. Okay. I'm calling this as a new object. Observe here, guys, everyone. This is new object. I'm saying that it is a new object. New object. Guys, if it is a new object, tell me this new object will be in which state? Transient state. Correct? Transient state. Then from there it goes to what? Persistent state. By calling which method? Persist method. Then it goes to what? Detached state. Again it will come back to what? Persistent state. By calling which method? Merge. This is new object now. Right. Now you observe here. This is an object which is loaded from the database. I repeat, whatever the next one I'm talking is the object which is loaded from the database. Sure, I'll explain you. For example, this is an object. You remember, it is not the new object. It is an object. Please understand me. It is not loaded from the database. Sorry, it is not newly created. It is loaded from the database. See, if an object is loaded from the database, it will directly enter into which state? Persistent state. This point also important to understand by you. I repeat once again. Okay, please understand me what I'm saying here. Okay, whenever this object is directly loaded from the database, then it will directly enter into which state? Persistent. How can I load an object from database directly? By calling the methods. Which method can help me out? Find method can help me out. Which method? Find. You know find method already, na? Otherwise, we can also call one more method. What is that? Get reference. Yeah, guys, you know this, right? Get reference method. Get reference method and find method, both you know, right? Are you clear now? Everybody? Tell me now. Whenever we call find method or get reference method, tell me the object directly goes to which state? Because find means you are creating the new object or you are loading from the database. We are loading from the database. We are not creating the new one. We are not creating the new one. We are loading it from the database. That's the reason why it is entered into directly what? Persistent state. Hope you guys got my point, right? Very good. Good, nice. One more thing. One more thing. Observe here. Sir, one more thing I want to tell you. What is the one more thing I want to tell you? An object can go to removed state. Actually, it is not a separate state. Just I want to give you like removed. I would like to give removed, guys. Removed. So an object can go to removed. Actually, removed is not a separate state. Just I'm telling you, removed. Which method can help me out to remove an object from database permanently? Remove method can help me out. Which method can help me out? Remove. Remove. So I think you might have understood about all the states now. So when you load an object from database, it will directly enter into which state? Persistent state. When an object can enter into transient state, when an object can have transient state. If it is newly created, then it is in transient state. If it is loaded from database, it will directly goes to persistent state. No new, right? No transient state. Okay, that's what the meaning of this one. Nice. Let's have a example for this to understand. We'll write one example code. I'll explain you all. Yeah, guys. Give me in chat box. Have you understood this diagram? Give a reply in chat box. Have you understood this diagram or not? Yeah, guys, please give me a reply. Yeah. So do remember, when an object is loaded from database, it will directly enter into person state. Whenever you call find method, you are not creating the object. Object is already there in database. You are loading it from the database by calling find method or get reference method. Whenever you load an object from database, it will directly enter into persistent state. It doesn't contain transient state. That's what the meaning of this diagram. Yeah, guys. Give me a reply, please, everyone. Try to understand me. Now we'll see a practical for this. We will see a practical for this by creating a method into our existing application. Our first JP application is there in a product application. So we will use that application and we will test all these states: transient state, persistent state, and the detached state. Do remember them. Okay. Removed is not a separate state actually, just I given in the diagram, which is permanently deleted. Removed means removed from the database also. Removed in the sense it is removed from the database also. Means what? That object is no longer available in the database. It is no longer available in the database. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead. I'm opening the example which we already have in a first application. Okay, JP application. In the first example, we performed CRUD operations. In that application only, I will create one more method newly. Means what? I will add one more method to the DAO class. And in that DAO class, we'll try to find out whether all, by adding one DAO class method, we'll try to find out whether transient state, person state, detached state, all these states are working or not working. Let's have an example here. Let's see the practical one now. Let's have a practical. Okay, let's have a practical. Let's have a discussion here. Observe here. If you look at application, DAO class will open first. First, DAO interface will open. Okay, first DAO interface will open. And in the DAO interface, I just want to add one method. I would like to add one more method. One method I want to add. The method which I want to add is void, for example, entity states, testing entity state, test entity states. Okay, just one method I'm adding here, test entity states. Now I should define this in the DO IMPL class. Okay, I'll define at the very bottom. As a last method, I'm defining it. Okay, what I'm doing here, I want to override the test entity states method. Okay, good. First of all, I need entity manager, right? What I need? Entity manager. Without entity manager, we cannot perform any operations on the database. Now, for example, let me open the product. I will open TBL underscore products is my table. TBL underscore products. So I have one product already. Product ID 129011 so and so created a laptop, modified so and so. Finally, we got some only one product is there. I would like to add a new product now. I would like to add a new product. Observe it. One more product I want to add. Suppose I'm creating a new product here. First, I'm creating new product. Create a new product. Okay, product entity. Okay, something entity or PE equal to some reference variable. New what? Product entity. Means what I done? What I have done here, I have created what? Product entity object, PE. PE dot set product ID. Clear? I want to set the product ID as okay 28 or 27620. 2760 is a product ID. Next, PE dot set product name. Okay, set product name, correct? And say, for example, the product name is okay, the product name is something. It can be something. Say, for example, I'm writing okay, earbuds. Any your choice. Next one is PE dot set product quantity. Okay, quantity 5. PE dot set unit price. Okay, unit price, for example, 2400. What about the created date and last update? Those things will be taken care by Hibernate. What I have created now? There is a new product entity I have created. Now this is called in which state? Transient state. Which state it is in? Transient state. Correct. It is in transient state. Are you clear? Very good. Now, entity transaction. Entity transaction TX equal to entity manager dot what I can say? Get transaction. TX dot begin. Next, what I say? After TX dot begin, what I say? After TX dot begin, what I say? Try block. What block? Try block. Try block. In try block, what I want to say? Entity manager dot what I can say? Persist. Persist of the PE. Correct? Now tell me, whenever I call persist method now, after once this statement is executed, now you tell me the object is entered into which state now? Persistent state. Okay, person state. Very good. Just observe. Very good. And I said TX dot commit. Okay, TX dot commit. Or assume that I'm not going to get any exceptions, for example. So I don't want to use any try block. Assume that I have no exceptions so that I can show you the code better. Okay, tell me now it is in which state now? It is in person state. Okay, excellent. Observe here, guys. Then I'm writing something like this now. What I'm writing? Entity manager dot detach of PE. You got my point? Once again, observe here, everyone. What is the statement? Entity manager dot detach of PE. What do you mean by entity manager detach? Object is removed from cache. Like evict method, here detach method is there. That's it, nothing more. Means what? Object is detached. Tell me, once this detach statement is executed, then tell me that the entity enters into which state? Detached state. What state? Detached state. See, observe here. PE dot set the unit price. Instead of 2400, I want to change to 2100 or 3100. Observe here. Please understand me. What is the set unit price I'm updating to how much? 3100. First time persisting. While persisting, what is the price? 2400. But after that, what I'm doing? Changing the price to 3100. My question is, will this 3100 affects in the database? Is this 3100 will affect in the database or not is a question. Will it affect in the database or not is a question. No, it won't affect. Why? Because currently the object is in which state? If you make any changes to the object in detached state, it does not affect in database. Observe, I am writing big comment here. Okay. The changes made to an entity in detached state doesn't affect in database. Doesn't affect in database. Got my point? Yes. Let us identify really it is changed to 3100 or not. And finally, I want to say entity manager dot close. Again, I will explain one more time. The same method I will modify again. But currently what I'm doing here, just observe it. First, what I'm doing, I'm creating a new product. Tell me, whenever you create a new object for your entity class, it will be in which state? That entity will be in transient state. But whenever you call persist method, it will be entered into persistent state. And whenever you call detach method or clear method or close method, it will enter into detached state. If you make any changes in a detached state, will the changes affect in database or not? No, not affected. Not affected. Let's see. We'll identify that. I'll go to my client. In the client, I want to keep all the existing code into comments. And here I'm calling the method. Which method I'm calling now? DAO.test entity states. Got it now? Let us execute this. Okay, we got answer insert into so and so table now. Very good. We are done with this. We are done. Go to database and check. Select star from TBL underscore products. You observe here. Okay, what is my product ID? 27620. Product name earbuds. Quantity 5. What is the unit price? Please identify this unit price. How much it is there? 2400. But actually we are expecting 3100. But we are not getting 3100. Why? Because that entity is in which state? Detached state. If you make any changes to the entity in detached state, then does not affect in what? Database. That's what I want to show. Is it clear now? Very good. Excellent. So one point, I made it very clear. I have made it very clear about the first point. Let us go ahead. Let us go ahead. Observe here. My question is, I don't want to create the new product. Observe here. I don't want to create the new product. Means what? I want to keep this code in comment. I am not removing it, but at least I'm keeping the code in comment. I don't want to create the new product. What I want to, I want to load this product from the database. Tell me first of all, how to load an entity from database. Please tell me. Product entity, PE equal to entity manager. You need entity manager dot. What's the method called? Tell me. Entity manager dot. Which method have to call, guys? Find method. Two parameters required. First parameter, entity class. Who is our entity class? Comma. What's the next one? ID. What's the next one, guys? ID. What is the ID? What is the ID? 27620. 27620. Everybody listen to me. Tell me, this entity is now in which state now? Tell me, this PE entity is in which state now? Persistent state. How can you say? We are creating the new object or we are loading it from database? Whenever you load any entity from the database, it will enter into what? Persistent state. Now this is in what, guys? Persistent state. Very good. What I want to do next? Okay, I don't want transaction, or I can have the transaction, no problem. Okay, for example, please understand me. I'm keeping this in comment, otherwise I can remove. I don't want all these things. Yes. Now observe here. Here what I'm doing? Loading the object from database. It is in which state now? Persistent state. Nice, good. Then I'm calling detach. Detach means it is in which state now? Detached state. Now tell me, will the change affect in database now? No, not affected. But I told you, can we move an entity from detached state again back to persistent state? Yes, we can do that. Na? Yes, we can do it. What's the method I need to call? Merge. Merge method I need to call, na? Sure. Observe here. I have to call merge method. But do remember, merge method I need to call within transaction. Merge means updating, na? Merging, updating, both are same. Merging means updating. Tell me, for updating, for inserting, for deleting, what is required? Transaction is required. So I need to begin what? Transaction. How can I begin the transaction? Entity transaction. TX or T. I'll take the variable name T. Entity. Come on. Entity manager. Come on, guys. Dot get transaction. Okay. T dot begin. Observe here. Entity manager dot merge of P. T dot commit. Guys, whenever I call merge method, tell me here object is moved from where to where? Moved from detached state to which state, guys? Persistent state. That's what I'm writing. I think you got it clearly. Persistent state. Correct? Moved from where to where, guys? Detached state to the persistent state. Which method I called to move it? Merge method I called. Merge method I called to move an object from detached state to the persistent state. Is it clear? You got the clarity on this point, everyone? Nice, excellent. This is what I did. Tell me, whenever it is moved to persistent state, the changes will affect in database also, na? Let's see in the database, the price is now going to be changed to 3100 or not. Let us run this main class. You are getting update query, na? I mean, Hibernate is executing which query there? Update query means it is updated. Okay, let's confirm it. See, guys, Now what is the unit price now? 3100. What is the unit price, guys? 3100. Tell me here. Tell me here, the change got affected or not? Yes, affected. Affected. Tell me, I have moved an object from which state to which state in my code? Yeah, I have moved an entity from where to where? I have moved an entity from detached state to persistent. Which method I can call for that? Merge method I can call. But do remember, merge method can be called only within a transaction. Within a transaction. Are you able to follow me, right? Okay. Thing is, again, I am not going to post this example separately. Okay, those who are in the guys in online, take a snapshot of it. Okay, take a photo of this code. Take a photo of this code, everyone. Take a photo of this code, everyone, and try to understand it. This example is already posted. So again, for this one method, I am not posting this example again. Just add this method to your existing example. Take a photo of this in online, people, right? Take a photo of it. This is photo number 1. Guys, are you clear, everyone? Okay, guys, take the second photo as well. Okay, I guess everyone. Guys, have you understood writing chat box? Have you understood this state transitions? Have you understood the state transitions is my question. Okay. Okay, guys, nice. Thank you. Thank you. Let's move on. Okay, that's all. Now next we'll go ahead. Okay, now we will enter into the concept of writing the JPQL queries. Okay, now we are understanding about how to write JPQL queries in JPA. So you all aware JPQL stands for Java Persistence Query Language. Okay, guys, JPQL stands for Java Persistence Query Language. This is JPQL, Java Persistence Query Language. That is what called JPQL, Java Persistence Query Language. Okay, JPQL. Java Persistence Query Language. Okay, JPQL stands for Java Persistence Query Language. Okay. Now let us understand. See, here we are discussing about a question. What is our question is? Suppose Okay, question is now, suppose I am calling find method. Observe here, okay? Suppose I am calling find method. I am calling find method. Suppose I am calling find method. Then how many objects can be loaded at a time from the database? Can you tell me the answer now? Suppose I am calling find method, then tell me how many objects can be loaded at a time from the database. That is my question. So can you tell me the answer? Either find method or get reference method. Find method can be used to early load an object. Na? Get reference method can be used to what? Lazily load an object, guys. Okay. Suppose I am calling guys find method. Then how many objects can be loaded at a time from the database is the question. What is your answer? One object can be loaded at a time. How many? One. Only one. One object. Find method can be used to load only one object at a time, right? You cannot load two objects at a time. How can you load only one object? Means based on the primary key. Whenever you are calling the find method or whenever you are calling the get reference method, you have to pass two parameters. First parameter is what? Entity class. Second parameter is what? ID number, primary key value. So how many objects can be loaded at a time from the database, guys? One object can be loaded at a time from the database. Only one. Okay. Okay. So please understand me. Next question. Suppose I am calling remove method. Then how many objects can be removed at a time from the DB? Suppose I am calling remove method. Then how many objects can be removed at a time from the database, guys? So how many objects can be removed at a time from the database, guys? Can you tell me the answer? Everyone, can you tell me the answer? How many objects can be removed at a time from the database? One object. One object can be removed. Are you getting my point? One object can be removed. Okay. 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 Good. Now let me tell you. Now my requirement is what? I want to load. Okay. Requirement is I want to load. Means I want to select. Understand clearly. I want to select all the products. Requirement I am telling. Whose price less than 50,000. I want to select what? The products with price less than, unit price less than 50,000. For example, in my table, there are 100 products. Out of 100, 29 products are having the price less than 29,000. Tell me now, how many objects I want to load from the database now? How many objects I want to load from the database now? 29 objects I want to load out of 100. At a time I want to load. By calling find method, can I do that? No. By calling find method, what can I do? I can load only one object at a time from the database, right? But I cannot do all objects. Then what's the solution for my requirement? You have to write a query. Are you getting my point? What you do? Write a query, execute that query on database. You are getting my point? Right. Again, query in the sense, you can have two types of queries. JPQL queries you can write, or SQL queries also you can write. I'll tell you how to execute them. First, understand how to write them. So we are discussing about what query? JPQL query. You got my requirement now? Right. I want to update I want to update the price of all the products. I want to update the price for all the products whose name contains letter S. For example, out of 100 products, there are 71 products are containing letter S in their names. Means at a time how many objects, as per our JPA terminology, at a time how many objects I want to update in the database? 71 objects I want to update. How many? Now tell me, by calling merge method or update method, can you do that? By calling update method or by calling merge method, whatever, tell me how many objects you can update at a time? One object. By calling remove method, how many you can remove at a time? One object. By calling persist method, how many you can save at a time? One object. By calling find method, you can find how many objects? One. Means all these methods are used to perform operations on single object. But my requirement is what? I want to perform operation on multiple objects at a time. Then what should I do? I have to write queries. And this is what called as bulk operation. What operation? Bulk operation I want to perform. To perform bulk operations means what? Loading multiple objects, updating multiple objects, deleting multiple objects. This is called what operations? Bulk operations. To perform these bulk operations, I need to write queries. What queries I can write? Yes, I can write JPQL query. What I can write? JPQL query. Otherwise, I can write SQL query. You got my point or not? Either I can write JPQL query or I can write SQL query of my choice. Are you getting my point? Okay, right. Then, if you take JPQL queries are database independent. The query, whatever you are writing, that query is independent of database. If you write JPQL query, it will be converted to SQL query and executed on database. What query you write? JPQL converted to SQL query, then executes on database. Who is converting? Hibernate is converting. You don't worry. If your database is Oracle, this query is converted to SQL query of Oracle. Your database is MySQL. Your JPQL query is converted to SQL query of MySQL. Means what? Your query is database independent, but who is converting this into SQL query of that database? Hibernate. So means what is the advantage of JPQL? JPQL is database independent. SQL is database dependent. Because in SQL query, we can use some proprietary keywords. Proprietary keywords means what? Those keywords will only work on specific that database only, but that does not work in another database. 80% of keywords will work on almost all the databases, but 10% of the keywords or 20% of the keywords will work on one database, but does not work on another database. Proprietary keywords also can be used in SQL. You are getting my point or not? So why should I write a JPQL queries then? Why should I write a JPQL query? Why should I write a JPQL query then? That JPQL query will make my application as database independent. Whenever I run my application, my JPQL query is converted to SQL query. Who is converting? Hibernate, and will execute it on the database. If your database is MySQL, Hibernate will convert this JPQL query to SQL query of MySQL. If your database is Oracle, Hibernate will convert this JPQL to SQL query of Oracle. But your query remains same. Who will take care of conversion? Hibernate. And that is the reason why JPQL is called a database independent. Let me write all these points for you in the document. Okay. Now question is how can I load multiple objects, or we also call it as how can I load sorry, how can I load or update? How can I load or update or delete multiple objects? Multiple objects. Or we can call it as, guys, or we can call it as what objects? Bulk objects. Please understand me. How can I load or update or delete multiple objects or bulk objects at a time? How can I load or update or delete multiple objects or bulk objects at a time from the database? From the database. Answer is what? Answer is what? Use JPQL or SQL queries. Guys, you got my question, right? Yeah. Use JPQL or SQL queries. Very good. Very good. Now I'm writing a point here. You know what? JPQL queries are database independent. Database independent. And SQL queries are database dependent. Guys, JPQL queries are database independent and SQL queries are what? Database dependent. Are you clear, guys? Everyone? Got my point? JPQL queries are what? Database independent. SQL queries are what? Database dependent. Yes. SQL queries are database dependent. JPQL queries are database independent. SQL queries are database dependent. Yes, correct. They are database dependent. Observe the point clearly. Tell me, if I write a JPQL query, okay, when we write a JPQL query, I'll tell you how to write, okay? When we write a JPQL query, then tell me it is converted to what? Yeah, it will be converted to SQL query with respect to the underlying database by Hibernate or JPA provider. By the JPA provider. Who is our JPA provider? Hibernate is a JPA provider. Okay, by the JPA provider. Everybody catch these points. These points are important. You have to catch them. So when we write a JPQL query, it will be converted to which query, guys? SQL query with respect to the underlying database by the JPA provider. Who is our JPA provider here? Hibernate is our JPA provider. Okay, na? Hibernate is our JPA provider. Are you getting my point? Yes. Next. Okay, let us understand now. How can I write the JPQL query? We are ready now how to write JPQL query, right? So writing JPQL queries are very simple. Means what I'm trying to say. Again, you no need to learn like how you learned SQL. Separately, no need to learn JPQL, because JPQL queries also looks like SQL queries only. Same classes we can use. Same classes, where class, group by class, order by class, where class, between class, like, in, whatever is there in SQL. The same classes even we can also use in JPQL. But while writing JPQL, one small change you have to write. Wherever table name comes, in place of table name, write entity class reference. Are you getting my point? In place of table name, write entity class reference. In place of In place of column name, you write variable name. Normally, when you write SQL query, in SQL query, what are you writing? Column names you are at select column 1, comma, column 2, comma, like that we are writing. From table name you are writing, na? In place of column name, what you have to write? Variable name. In place of table name, what you have to write? Entity class reference. Entity class reference variable you have to write. Then your query becomes what? JPQL query. So tell me, are you learning JPQL again separately? No. JPQL queries looks like SQL queries only. But in place of table name, we should provide entity class reference variable. In place of column name, we should provide variable name. Then your query becomes what? JPQL query. So tell me, JPQL looks like SQL, but in place of table name, provide, guys, tell me, in place of table name, provide what? What is that, guys? Entity class reference variable. And in place of column names, provide. Can you tell me now? In place of column names, what I have to provide? Yes, provide what? Variable names. Okay. So in place of table name, provide entity class reference variable, and in place of column names, provide variable names. Then tell me now, this is called as what query? This is going to become JPQL query. Provide variable names. Okay, let's practice 2-3 queries now. Some examples we'll write. I will tell you some examples, guys. Example 1. See, suppose you have a SQL query. SQL query is select star from EMP. Now JPQL query. SQL query is what? Select star from EMP. We'll compare now. How to write the same JPQL query here? Select, for example, E from employee entity E. Assume that who is employee entity? Employee entity is the entity class. What is E? Reference variable. Entity class reference variable is E. In place of select star from EMP, what can I write? Select E from employee entity E. Even the same query we can write like this, or you can also write like this, from, simply directly with from employee entity E. Both are correct. You can write the same query like this. Okay, remember, when you are selecting all attributes mean all columns, you can directly start the JPQL query with the from keyword. What do you mean by select a star from EMP? Star means what? All the columns you are selecting, nothing but all attributes you are selecting of the employee, right? So if that is the case in JPQL, you can directly start your query with from keyword. What can I write now? From employee entity E. Understood my point? What is that? From employee entity E. That's what we can write directly. Okay, that's a JPQL query. Next, again, let's see the second example. Learn some queries now. Example 2. Suppose SQL query is like this. SQL query is, okay, SQL query is select, understand, ename, comma sal from emp. Now, can you try writing the JPQL query for this? Select ename, comma sal from emp is my query. This is my JPQL query, SQL query. I'm asking you, can you try writing the JPQL query for this? Okay. Right? Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point? Can you try now? Can you try for this now? Okay. Guys, tell me now. Can you tell me how do we write? Select ename, comma sal from emp. Emp is my table, right? Employee entity is the class. Assume that it is mapped with the emp table. In our class, we have created one employee entity class in our project that is mapped with the emp table. You have to assume like that. Tell me. Select ename, comma sal from emp. Come on, guys. Can you tell me now? How do you write the JPQL query for this now? Select e dot, for example, employee name, comma e dot salary from employee entity. Correct. Employee entity. Assume that what is assumption? Employee name is variable name mapped with ename column. Salary is variable name mapped with sal column, because at the time of writing the entity class, you are mapping the variables with the columns now. Right. Now my question here, can I start this query directly with the from keyword? Can I start this query directly with the from keyword is my question. No, we can't. Why? We are not selecting all attributes. What we are selecting? Only 2 attributes of employee. What are the 2 attributes of employee? Name of the employee, salary of the employee. But we are not selecting the employee number, his date of joining, his his department number, manager. We are not selecting, right? Only we are selecting what? Name and salary. But we are not selecting all the attributes. That's the reason why this query we cannot start with from keyword. When can I start a JPQL query with from keyword directly? If you are selecting all attributes of the employee, but here it is selecting all attributes of the employee or only 2 attributes of the employee? 2 attributes of the employee. So we cannot start with the from keyword. So we cannot start with the from keyword. From keyword. Guys, are you getting my point? Type C or N in chat box. Okay, good. Let's have one more example. Thank you. Thank you. Next example. Example 3. Example 3. One more example, guys. Example 3. EX3. Example 3. Guys, SQL query. SQL query. Select star from EMP where sal greater than question mark. Guys, select star from EMP where sal greater than question mark. You got it, my point? So guys, can you tell me how do we write this in JPQL? Try. Okay. Write in the chat box, guys. Write in the chat box. Yeah, guys. Correct. Correct. Yeah. See here, I'm writing the JPKL query, guys. I'm writing the JPKL query here. Please understand me, JPKL query. The JPKL query is what is the JPKL query? Select E from employee entity E where E dot salary greater than question mark 1. Remember in JPQL, we should add the index of the question mark. Question mark 1 means first question mark. Question mark 2 means second question mark, like that. Or what another way? Can I directly start with the from keyword? Yes. What can I say? From, come on, from employee entity E where E dot salary greater than question mark 1. Where E dot salary greater than question mark 1. Where E dot salary greater than question mark 1. From employee entity E where E dot salary greater than question mark 1. Okay, we can write like this, no problem. This is the way of writing what query? JPQL query. Just only 2-3 examples we have discussed today, but we will discuss more examples next. Okay, right? Good. Yeah, guys, please wait 1 minute. I'll continue. Yeah, guys. I just want to tell you that the next session we have on Tuesday. I'm not available on Monday. Okay. And one more thing, guys. If you are staying in Hyderabad, if you are staying in Hyderabad, and if your blood group is A negative,